Hey everybody, it's the interview queen Alicia Atout here, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to my interview with Paul from Cannibal Corpse. Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well as well. So,
I'm glad to hear it. There's one thing that I'm kind of starting all my interviews off with since I'm used to interviewing bands like yourself in person, and that is the fact that this pandemic has, of course, given us a lot of downtime to just focus on the important things since we can't travel or explore as much. So, how has some of that rare downtime been spent for you as of late?
well, it's kind of odd because being in Florida, I know it's different throughout the world and throughout the country and all that, and depending on where you are, so many different lockdowns. We had the lockdown initially, like everybody, back in March and April of last year, but it's almost weird to be kind of business as normal in a way. There's a lot of things open. You're able to go do things, of course, sporting events and things like that. But overall, it seems like it really hasn't affected me too much. I get to go to play the drums, practice, and all that kind of a thing. So and I'm fortunate to play. I play ice hockey. I'm able to do that, and I know that that doesn't happen. And like I said, depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
So you're right. So luckily, we're able to go do that right now. If I was anywhere else, maybe I can't do that. So and that's all I do. so so luckily, I'm a kind of a homebody kind of a thing. So it's not like I was really doing much in the sense. I mean, the big thing, of course, really
Touring.
is touring. That's it, right? I mean, we would have been out by now, of course. We had to delay the release of the new album, so we would have been on the road, and we would be into the cycle here. So that's the hardest part, right?
Is it bizarre for you not having that tour time? Or is it almost a bit of a luxury, in an ass backwards way where you're like, hey, I'm going to take it?
Well, it's I'm not going to lie. It's touring gets tougher the older we get and all that. But then again, it is our profession. It's how we make a living. And right, you get into the mode of your body's set for that. We take we record, we put a record out, and we're on the road for a couple of years. So the fact that we're not is weird. I don't mind not being on the road, but of course at the same time, well, financially and making the money, and that's what we kind of unfortunately need to do. You hate to even think of it that way, but when it becomes a business and it becomes your livelihood and your profession, being on the road is very huge for bands of our nature, I guess, or our level kind of a thing. So it's weird. It is weird. So
It's bizarre for me because I've been on the road with bands and friends bands, and it's one of those
mm,
things where releasing a record really does go hand in hand. It's like a
yep,
50-50 with touring.
right.
So
Yep.
at least you guys have that 50% on the horizon, as in just a couple of months,
Yeah.
Violence Unimagined will be out everywhere for everyone. So having released albums for over 30 years, this being your 15th, do you still kind of get those pre-release jitters at all when sharing an album, or are those long gone for you?
No, I mean it's always exciting to get an album out to hear what the fans think. Of course, I mean this one's weird in particular because we had to sit on it for a little while and we're just getting anxious to get it out there. But no, we you get that anxious feeling of wanting the fans to hear it and hoping that they're going to enjoy it like we do. And so far so good with the song that we released the other day. The feedback has been awesome, and really can't wait for everybody to hear the rest of the record. So we're definitely looking forward to that, and we always are. You have to be. You got to move forward. I mean, we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't really love to do it, and have that passion. So of course, it's very important to get the fans' feedback and to get it out to the masses.
Oh, absolutely. And that song that you mentioned releasing just a few days ago, that is Inhumane Harvest. And it's really fascinating when listening to this new track because between listening to the lyrics and seeing the artwork, it really just does seem like you love diving into all things dark and horrific. And that's always been the case with you guys. And I love that side. It's just genuinely so gruesome as far as visuals go for this track. So, what kind of sparked that interest in the darker and more frightening things? And of course, turning that into your music?
Well, growing up, of course, we were, teenagers, I guess, back in the early '80s or what have you, and it's this really the bands that we worshipped back then. You had your Metallica and Slayer and Creator and Dark Angel and all these bands that were coming into light that were kind of delving more into the darker side, getting more intense than say Iron Maiden or Judas Priest and all that. So when we were able to finally do what we do, with Cannibal Corpse, I mean, we were just wanting to take it to another level, I guess. The fact that we had an opportunity to put out a CD with an album cover and write some lyrics and all that. We just wanted to kind of take it maybe a step further than our heroes did, at that time in the
Crank it
late
to
80s.
11.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it was about being into that, of course, into horror movies, and Stephen King and all that kind of stuff. I mean, so it just kind of made sense, especially then when you name your band Cannibal Corpse. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's
You
kind
got
of
to live up to that.
exactly. So I mean, I think that really pushed us along in what our true subject matter was going to be about at that point. So.
It's great you mentioned pushing yourselves along there, because I really feel like you pushed yourselves in another way, which is the fact that when it came to playing on this album, especially from a technical aspect, it seems like you guys really went full on, especially when it comes to just going all out and releasing the most drum focused kind of release. So was there a reason you wanted to just go as intense and heavy as you possibly could have on this one? You're like, you know what, it's about time? Or
Well, I think it's kind of been progressing to this point over the last few records. I think, I don't know, for some reason, myself in particular, I just felt, I just wanted to push myself as much as I could, more so than ever. I don't know if it's just the fact that, you're getting older, how many more records do we have left, all that kind of thing.
right.
We're not getting any younger, so you got to kind of take it, take what you got and really do the best you can. So I think in the last 10 years for me, it's been, really a focal point to push myself and to, take it to as far as I can go, with my drumming, of course. And then the same thing with the band, the other guys and the songwriting has just got that much more involved and all that. So, but yeah, this one killed me. It was a tough record. I'm not going to lie either. That was a tough record to record and play. But I looked at it as a challenge. The guys wrote some great material and some very intense songs, probably more intense than we've had in recent years, I guess. But yeah, just do it while we can, because tomorrow, who knows what's going to happen? Are we going to still be around? Are we going to, all that? You got to take it one day at a time and one album at a time. But do it while we can. So I wanted to push myself.
No, well put. And it's amazing because you can really hear it coming through on the
Well,
album.
thank you. Thank you.
Of course. And something else that's really unique about this release is the fact that you have so many different beautiful runs of vinyl for fans to get, everything from a silver blue marble to the bloody skin marble to even like a swampy one. So do you happen to have a vinyl collection, and that kind of comes into play, just knowing just like the beauty of them and actually holding those things?
Well, it's weird because, of course, back in the early days when I started listening to music, vinyl was everything. Yeah, and I remember growing up, that's all you had was vinyl, and then went to cassettes. But vinyl was such an important thing, I think, especially for a metal fan, because you had that bigger album cover to look at, and be able to see the pictures if there was anything inside, all that kind of stuff. So it went hand in hand. And I don't know why, for some reason, I kind of fell out of the vinyl stage myself personally. I mean, I still like to get it, and I like to collect our vinyls, of course, but I'm not like this vinyl guy, unfortunately. And I know it's weird because I went from that to doing like what everybody else does these days. Download it off
All
of
digital.
Apple Music and just get it on my phone. It's easier, all that. But it's really cool that we're able to, for the true fans of the vinyl, to be able to put out that many different kinds of editions, kind of thing. So that's cool, because I'm just glad it made a big comeback and it hasn't gone away. Because I think it is, like I said, really special for the metal fans to have the vinyl. So
It's just warm and nostalgic. And the moment you open them, you get to find those little Easter eggs on the cover and everything. Like that's what it's
yeah,
all about.
you're
So
right. You're right. It is.
I know going way back in the band, you all actually had different nicknames for each other, with yours being Buzz. So I wanted to know now going forward, do you have any other nicknames among each other, or is that one just stuck with you?
Well, that one stuck with me, per I guess, so I'm still would be called that. George would call me that, and I think Alex would call me that. So I don't think I really have too many other nicknames. I may, maybe some I don't know about. But no, but yeah, we were always sticklers for that, so we've had so many different nicknames for other, crew members, and and different members of the band and everything. I mean, the big one that I'll always remember, and he's still good friends of ours, was Jack Owen, when he was
Yeah,
in the band. I don't know if you ever heard the one. We called him the Oyster. That
the
was his nickname.
oyster.
Yeah, and we still call him that. If
Oh,
I was to talk to him right now, I'd say, "Hey, Oi," or the Oyster or whatever, and and he'll still goes by that. So it's a lot of fun, endearing. It's cool to have the nicknames, but yeah, but I don't think anything new has come to light for anybody at this point. So we'll have to think of some new ones.
definitely. For now, Buzz it is. I find that most of our musical tastes really are shaped from when we were kids. And you mentioned a lot of those really cool 80s bands growing up, everyone from like Judas Priest to Black Sabbath and Metallica. So I've seen you mention it really briefly, but I love this band. So I would genuinely love to hear more just about you kind of hearing Metal Militia for the first time and how that really opened your eyes to a whole other style of music.
Oh my gosh, hearing Metallica, that was just incredible. It was intense hearing, yeah, Metal Militia. I'll never forget that, those formative years when you're hearing music like that, or any music for that matter. And I remember hearing Metal Militia, and it went over my head, I was just blown away by it, but it was just too intense for me, and that was being kind of the first Metallica song that I ever heard. And then of course, that being the most intense one, I think, technically on Kill 'Em All. So it was they changed our lives. I think they changed most people's lives, especially if you grew up when we did back then in the early 80s like that, where the scene was changing every day. It was just going from something different. And when I first heard that song and that album, I mean, the Metallica just really they changed my life. And if it wasn't for Metallica, I think a lot of bands, and I'm sure a lot of musicians would say this, that right, it changed them and pushed them forward and got them into this kind of into the heavier music, because they were the forerunners. So yeah, it's an incredible time, incredible to think back at things like that. Those firsts, how exciting it was. So always fun.
I love that. Well, the last thing I wanted to ask you about is the fact that on my channel, I not only interview musicians like yourself, but I'm also in the world of wrestling. So if
Oh,
you could have a professional wrestling gimmick or kind of like an in-ring persona, what do you think that might be?
Oh, I don't know. I guess I would have to go, some sort of a hockey theme, since kind of that's what the only thing I do. I love to play ice hockey. I've been doing that my whole life. And I guess hockey kind of would go hand in hand sort of with wrestling, being physical. And, obviously there's some fights happening here and there and everything. So I guess it would have to be some sort of crazy, hockey persona there, wearing a helmet and kind of like Wacko. I don't remember if you remember the band Raven,
Yes.
when Wacko was on the drums wearing that stuff, and you just, it kind of reminded me like of a goalie or something.
I
So,
can
so
envision that.
yeah. So I guess it would have to be something like that. That would make the most sense for me. So,
I would definitely watch. Well, I want
well,
to say thank you so much, Paul, for taking the time for coming on here and shooting the breeze. It's been absolutely fantastic learning more about the upcoming release and just having you on the show. So thank you so much.
well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, to everyone watching, this has been Paul from Cannibal Corpse. Be sure to check out aliciatoot.com for more exclusive interviews and features, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.